If you are planning a trip to a famous European city this summer, this is what you are actually signing up for. You are paying thousands of dollars to stand shoulder to shoulder with strangers in narrow alleys. The math in Western Europe has completely broken down. Last year, Barcelona absorbed 55 million visitors. That is a massive weight on a city of just 1.6 million permanent residents. The locals are exhausted. Over the last 2 summers, tens of thousands of residents across Spain marched through the streets, with protesters in Barcelona even spraying tourists with water pistols to make them leave. The local government is actively pushing back. The mayor of Barcelona recently announced the city will refuse to renew all 10,000 of its tourist flat licenses. By 2029, short-term rentals there will simply cease to exist. And the romantic idea of soaking in world-famous art? In Paris, you'll queue for 90 minutes just to look at the Mona Lisa through a forest of phone screens. Venice has resorted to charging day trippers an entry fee just to walk its streets. Amsterdam is running literal campaigns telling budget travelers to stay away. The classic European vacation is mathematically and experientially broken. You are paying a heavy premium for the privilege of being crowded, overcharged, and actively resented by your hosts. The smartest travel strategy in 2026 is to look east. The highest value trips right now are hiding in plain sight across the Baltics, the Balkans, and Eastern Europe. This is geographic arbitrage applied to your vacation. By taking your strong home currency to countries that haven't been optimized for mass tourism yet, your spending power multiplies. This chart shows the massive gap in visitor density. France pulls in roughly 100 million tourists a year. North Macedonia saw exactly 830,000 arrivals in 2024. That is fewer people than a single over-touristed city like Venice absorbs. This chart lays out the 200 euro question. You spend 185 euros daily in Paris. In Moldova or Kosovo, that drops to 40. In Ohrid, 15 euros gets a hostel bed. A bus is 9 euros, and dinner is 6 euros. To capture this financial and cultural return, you have to accept a specific trade-off. You are swapping the high-speed rail networks and seamless infrastructure of Western Europe for slower buses, cash-heavy economies, and a bit more friction. Let's look at the first major trade, swapping hyper-expensive, crowded capitals like Amsterdam or Prague for the historic centers of the Baltics and Balkans. Latvia's capital, Riga, recently ranked as Europe's absolute best value city break. A standard 12-item tourist basket, including 2 nights in a 3-star hotel, costs 297 euros in Riga. The exact same trip in Amsterdam costs almost 750 euros. Riga carries immense cultural weight despite the low cost. It has the densest concentration of Art Nouveau architecture anywhere on the continent, with over 800 detailed historic facades lining its streets. Further south, Bosnia and Herzegovina offers a brilliant swap for Central Europe. In cities like Sarajevo and Mostar, you get winding cobblestone streets and rich coffee culture, but a full restaurant meal only sets you back about 8 euros. The history here is incredibly layered. You have Ottoman stone bridges, a capital that survived the longest siege in modern European history, and the massive, striking legacy of hosting the 1984 Winter Olympics. The catch is logistical. To get the absolute best prices, you will need to brave the colder off-season months in the Baltics, or rely on intercity buses in Bosnia that run a little slower than a German train. Trading these famous capitals for Eastern alternatives secures premium European history and architecture minus the typical premium price tag. If your goal is a Mediterranean beach holiday, you need to abandon the idea of Santorini or Dubrovnik. Those coasts are packed tight and priced to the absolute ceiling. Instead, look at the Albanian Riviera. Towns like Borsh and Himare sit right on the Ionian Sea, offering crystal-clear water at prices that feel closer to Southeast Asia. Hiring a sun lounger on a beach club here runs about 10 to 20 euros a day, and the local Mediterranean seafood and flaky pastries cost a fraction of what they do in Greece or Italy. The physical compromise here is the sand. Most of the Albanian coast is made up of smooth, dark pebble beaches, not fine white powder. Just to the north, Montenegro offers stunning Adriatic coastline that rivals Croatia, but you have to be highly strategic about where you stay, especially when it comes to the famous town of Kotor. Kotor has already tipped into a mass tourism trap. On a single day in August, 4 massive cruise ships dumped roughly 5,000 tourists into a town of just 23,000 residents. The old town becomes a slow-moving river of selfie sticks. Affordable Mediterranean bliss is still out there. You just have to actively dodge these new cruise ship hubs and seek out the secondary coastal towns nearby. The same strategy applies to natural landscapes. The famous alpine ski resorts and lakes of Central Europe are completely saturated. If you want the dramatic beauty of a place like Lake Bled without fighting for a parking spot, look at Lake Ohrid in North Macedonia. It is one of the oldest and deepest lakes on Earth and a rare dual UNESCO World Heritage Site. Ohrid is famous for its historic cliffside churches, perched directly over impossibly blue water. And unlike the Italian lakes, you will often have these paths nearly to yourself. For big mountains, Slovakia's high Tatras offer a dense, dramatic range of jagged peaks and glacial lakes that easily rivals the Swiss Alps. The trailheads are connected by a convenient electric railway, where return tickets cost between 2 and 3 euros. A full self-catering apartment at the base of the mountains goes for around 55 euros a night. You give up the luxury shopping boutiques and massive ski mega-resorts of Switzerland. In exchange, you get private, affordable access to world-class geology. Then there are the deep cuts. These are the countries at the extreme edge of the value spectrum, where international tourism is practically a rounding error. Moldova is officially the least visited country in Europe, pulling in roughly 250,000 tourists a year. The main reason to go is its incredible wine culture. Moldova has one of the highest vineyard densities on Earth, including the world's largest wine cellar. It holds over 1.5 million bottles stored across 55 kilometers of underground tunnels that you literally tour by car. Further south, Kosovo is the single cheapest country in Europe that uses the euro. A backpacker can easily cover all their daily expenses for around 41 euros. The city of Prizren is the main cultural draw, featuring a beautiful Ottoman old town full of historic mosques, stone bridges, and a level of deep local hospitality that has largely faded from Western Europe. Stepping this far off the tourist grid requires some effort. You trade ride-sharing apps for cash economies and local buses. But the reward is experiencing a version of Europe that feels genuinely undiscovered. Making this work requires matching your personal limits for travel friction to the right destination. This chart maps cost and crowd levels against the quality of local infrastructure. For maximum value and basic infrastructure, plot your trip in Moldova, Kosovo, or North Macedonia. If you want rich culture but prefer more comfort, aim for Latvia, Slovenia, or Bosnia. If your ideal vacation requires Uber at all times, seamless high-speed transit, and luxury mega-resorts, these regions will frustrate you. You need to stay in Western Europe and pay the premium. Securing a great trip in these emerging markets completely depends on honestly assessing which inconveniences you're willing to accept in exchange for lower prices. The window to experience these regions at peak value is rapidly closing. The secret is already out, and the shorelines are filling up. Driven by a surge in new budget airline routes, foreign visits to Albania shot up roughly 82% between 2019 and 2024. Prices on the coast are climbing just as fast. To hit the sweet spot where good weather overlaps with low prices and empty streets, travel in shoulder seasons, May to June or September to October. Avoid the Adriatic and Ionian coasts in July and August. They are hotter, pricier, and genuinely crowded. To build your itinerary, pair a convenient gateway hub, like Tirana or Riga, with a deep-cut destination a few hours inland. And once you're there, stay outside the old town cores and eat where the locals eat. Make the swap to Hidden Europe now, because in 5 years, the quiet escapes of today will become the very crowds you're trying to avoid.